Let's start by lying down as always. So rolling yourself down, bringing the legs into butterfly. So soles of the feet come together, knees drop apart. So knees gently melt down towards the floor. Just checking in, making sure that the spine feels nice and long. And then taking the arms up overhead, taking hold of the elbows, and then as best we can, just resting the arms back down on the floor. Starting to open through the chest, allowing the eyes to close. Just taking some nice gentle breaths here down into the belly. Connecting in with the body, connecting in with the breath. Giving yourself permission to be here in this space for the next hour. Making the conscious choice to step back, to step away from any thoughts, any worries, any things you still need to do or have not yet completed. Just bringing yourself into the body, into the breath. And then doing a brief body scan. So starting at the bottoms of your toes, the tips of your toes, and slowly working your way up through the body, just noticing what you notice. All the while continuing to allow the breath to come in and out. Aiming to step back from any judgments that arise, any thoughts of good or bad. This should or should not be the way that it is. Just aiming to notice. It is as it is. And we're just aiming to bring our awareness into the body to notice it as it is. Once you've completed your body scan, just returning the awareness back into the breath. Noticing the movements of the body that come with the breath. So again, not trying to put any effort into the breath, not trying to change it in any way, just aiming to notice. Perhaps noticing a rise and fall of the belly, perhaps noticing a gentle flaring at the bottom of the ribs. And then with your next inhalation, gently releasing the arms, stretching them up overhead, and then slowly reaching down, taking hold of the legs and just supporting the thighs as we lift the knees up, bringing the knees together and then hugging them into the chest. Squeezing the elbows in, either directly into the chest or perhaps aiming for the armpits, whatever is more comfortable for you. And then releasing. Let's bring the hands over the knees, creating small circles with the knees in one direction. And then back the other way. So taking those circles back in the opposite direction. So just getting a little bit of movement here into that lower back. And then working our way back to center, bringing the feet down to the floor, arms come out to shoulder height. Let's inhale, and then as you exhale, dropping the knees over towards the right, turning the head to look out to the left. Breathing here. And then inhaling, lifting the knees back up to center, and exhaling, flopping the knees down to the left, head turns to look out to the right. Again, just aiming to take the awareness into the stretch, Inhaling, lifting the knees back up to center. And then exhaling once more over to the first side. And then if you would like to, lifting that lower leg out, resting it on the top leg. So bringing the right leg out, resting it over the left leg, gently increasing the body weight here. Noticing any changes in the sensations of the stretch. And then unwrapping the legs, drawing the knees back up to center. Let's inhale, pushing the feet down into the floor, curling up, lifting through the pelvis, peeling the spine off the floor. And then exhaling, softening the body back down. So curling back through the spine, lowering one vertebra at a time, returning the spine to a neutral position. And then let's drop the knees down to the left. Again, lifting that lower leg. So left leg this time lifts out and crosses over the top leg. Head turns to look away. Once more, taking the awareness in to the sensations of the stretch. Perhaps noticing any differences from one side to the other side. Maybe noticing differences or changes as we have applied that extra body weight to the knee. Again, just aiming to notice. So aiming to step back from any judgments. Just notice what is. Unwrapping the legs, returning the knees back up to center. Let's work with that pelvic lift once more. So feeling like we are tucking the tailbone so that the lower back comes down to the floor, lifting through the pelvis and then lifting one vertebra at a time up off the floor. Keeping a gentle engagement through the core and then leaving the feet down flat on the floor. Feel as though you are pulling them gently towards the buttocks or towards the shoulders. Feeling how that helps you to engage through the backs of the legs. Releasing, so lowering the spine and then the pelvis back down to the floor and then softening. Hugging the knees into the chest once more. Squeezing them in. And releasing, returning the hands back out to shoulder height. Let's inhale. Exhaling, taking the knees over towards the right elbow. Head turns to look out to the left. Seeing if we can roll gently through that top hip. So aiming to draw the top hip away from the body, the left hip away from the body, so that the hips are stacked one on top of the other. And that will help the knees stack one on top of the other as well. Aiming to soften through the left shoulder. And then engaging the core, inhaling, lifting up, and exhaling, taking the knees down to the left. Head turns to look out to the right. Checking in with the hips, with the knees, aiming to have them stacked. Seeing if we can soften through the right shoulder. Checking in with the neck, with the jaw, aiming to soften. Inhaling, engaging the core, lifting up. And then exhaling once more over to the first side. And if you would like to, working to gently straighten through the legs and turning the head to look away. So whether the legs are straight or whether they're bent, continuing to work to stack the hips one on top of the other. So gently rolling away through that left hip. And at the same time working to soften through the left shoulder. You can experiment with pointing or flexing through the feet, just noticing how that changes the stretch. And then bending through the knees, engaging the core, inhaling, lifting up, and then exhaling over to the left. So knees come down, either leaving the knees bent or gently straightening through the legs. Head turns to look away. Checking in with the pelvis, with the knees. Softening through the right shoulder. And again, experimenting with pointing and flexing through the feet. Noticing the different stretches that you get as you shift the feet from pointing to flexed. And then gently drawing the knees back in, engaging the core as we lift the knees back up to center. And then from here, let's come into a figure 4 stretch, modified pigeon pose on the back of the body. So leaving the left foot for now down on the floor, bringing the right ankle over the left knee, and then working to lift that left leg off the floor so that we can ideally reach through, taking hold either of the thigh, or if you would like to, bending the leg and seeing if we can reach around, taking hold of the shin. From either position, then gently aiming to soften the body back down to the floor. So aiming to soften and release through the head, through the neck, through the shoulders. Noticing if there is any tightness, discomfort, or even pain through the knee. If there is, then we just want to gently back off the stretch, as well as keeping the foot flexed. So keeping that foot, the right foot flexed, will gently help you keep the knee engaged as well. We should hopefully be feeling a stretch here through the right glute, so the right buttock into the right hip. Inhaling, exhaling, softening, releasing that left leg down, unwrapping the right foot, and then working with the other side. So left leg lifts up this time, and then releasing the right leg off the floor, reaching through, taking hold of either the thigh or the shin, and then softening the body back down. Allowing the eyes to close, taking the awareness into the stretch. Noticing whether the right knee is perhaps drifting over to the left. We want to have that right thigh and the right knee pointing directly up into the sky. And then if you need a little more intensity, we can think about pushing the left knee away from the body. Taking 2 more slow, deep breaths here, seeing if you can soften a little further. And then on completion of your second breath, gently releasing the legs back down, bringing the feet back to the floor, and just allowing the knees to flop from one side to the other side. Working with some spinal rolls. So knees come in towards the chest, crossing the ankles, reaching down on the outside of the legs, taking hold either of the big toes or bringing the hands in underneath the knees if we can't reach the big toes. Lifting the head, gently rocking the body backwards and forwards. Working your way all the way up to sitting and then rolling down, coming onto the shoulders and working our way back up. When you next come up to seated, crossing the legs over in the opposite direction, working with a few more. Working to engage through the core to help you lift the body up, curving the spine as we roll down. And then pausing, seeing if you can balance on the shoulders. Maybe even releasing the grip on the feet. Perhaps experimenting once more with pointing and flexing through the feet if you've found a point of balance here. And then crossing the ankles once more, just taking hold of the feet again, Gently rocking from side to side as we lower the spine back down to the floor. Finding any tight spots either side of the spine, giving them a little bit of extra love and attention. And then working your way up to a seated position. Rolling over the legs, tucking the toes under. Let's just pause here for a moment. So pausing with the toes tucked under, aiming to push the heels out behind you. Finding how that helps to start to stretch through the calf muscles. Perhaps you're feeling it in the back of the feet or even into the toes as well. So rather than just passively resting here, we want to really work to push the heels back behind you, finding that stretch. And then working our way up to standing. So bringing the soles of the feet down to the floor, pausing in a forward fold, feeling the backs of the legs lengthening up into the sky, making sure, trying not to lock the knees out. So having a micro bend, if you like, through the knees, lifting up through the kneecaps, feeling how that support through the front of the legs helps you to lengthen through the backs of the legs. And then let's inhale, coming up either onto fingertips or perhaps bringing the hands to the shins, helping you lengthen through the spine. So nice long spine here. We're aiming to find those natural curves in the spine. Inhaling, exhaling, softening the body forward, releasing, softening through the head and the neck. And then once more, inhaling, lengthening, exhaling, softening down. Inhaling, this time rolling the spine up to standing. Coming all the way up and then circling through the shoulders. Nice big movements into the shoulders, getting the arms involved as well. And then back the other way. And releasing. Having a go at some helicopter swings. So stepping the feet to about hip width distance apart. Again, making sure we're not locking out through the knees, a micro bend or a tiny bend through the knees. Hands come down parallel and then swinging the arms back behind you. So working the arms back, watching the back hand as it travels behind you. Working the arms up to shoulder height. And then sweeping the arms all the way up towards the sky, perhaps feeling that you are sweeping across all four corners of the room if you are inside. Feeling that rotation that we're getting from the base of the spine all the way up to the crown of the head. Working the arms back down to shoulder height. Back down to hip height. Continuing to turn to watch the back hand so that we're continuing to get that rotation through the upper spine, through the neck. And then eventually just allowing the arms to come to rest down by our sides. When the hands do come to a still point, let's step the feet together, finding Tadasana, the pose of the mountain. Pausing with the eyes closed for a moment, feeling the feet really pushing firmly down into the floor. Feeling as we push into the floor that this helps us to lift the crown of the head, the center of the head, even higher up into the sky. Finding some activation here. So again, gently lifting the kneecaps up towards the thighs or the hips. So we're engaging through the fronts of the legs, engaging through the core, corseting the waist in, drawing those lower ribs towards the back of the body. Finding some openness through the chest, feeling the shoulder blades drawing down towards the floor. Lengthening through the neck. Feeling the crown or the center of the head lifting up into the sky. Ears sit just above the shoulders, arms dangle down towards the floor. Blinking the eyes open, keeping this really firm, grounded weight centered over the feet, pushing down into the floor. And then let's have a go at working with tree pose today. So we've got 3 different options for tree pose. We'll start by leaving your right leg planted firmly down on the floor, lifting through the left leg. The first option is that we can keep the balls of the feet down on the floor and the heel of the foot gently rests in at the ankle. Second option is to bring the foot into the calf muscle. Third option is to bring the foot in to the thigh. So selecting whichever option you would like to work with, making sure that we're shifting that weight into the right foot, continuing to lift up, lengthen the same length that we found, the same activation that we found through Tadasana, the pose of the mountain, and then lifting through your left leg, bringing it into whichever position you would like to have a go at. Pushing the foot into the thigh or into the leg, drawing the hands to the heart. Seeing if we can continue to lift the crown of the head up into the sky. Breathing, finding that point of focus, point of balance. Focusing the eyes in to a spot that is not moving. And then let's open up through the arms, inhaling, circling the arms up overhead, reaching up, feeling as though we can grow a little taller. And then seeing if we can bring the hands together overhead, drawing them back down to the heart. And then gently releasing the leg, pedaling through the feet. And then let's work with the other side. So before we shift the weight, making sure that we are pushing firmly down into the floor, feeling that as we push down, this helps us to actually lift up into the sky. Weight shifts over into the left leg and then lifting through the right foot, choosing whichever position feels right for you. And then drawing the hands to the heart when you're ready. Again, continuing to push down into the left foot, continuing to lift up through the crown of the head. Finding that point of focus for the eyes. And then releasing the arms out to the sides. Seeing if we can inhale as we take the arms up overhead. Softening here through the shoulders, so aiming to take the shoulders down away from the ears, seeing if we can bring the hands together. And then releasing the hands back down to the heart. So noticing that as we balance, we often think of balance as finding a still point, a stillness, but that actually the body is constantly making these micro adjustments, helping us stay in balance by constantly readjusting ourselves, releasing through the leg, releasing the hands, pedaling out through the feet. Let's come down to kneeling. So coming down onto the knees, untucking the toes. If you have problems with the feet cramping, which is often something that I experience, you can always tuck the toes back under if you need to. That'll help you stretch out any cramps that do pop up. And then let's stretch out and away through the left leg. Feeling the foot come firmly down onto the floor. Again, lifting up, keeping the length through the spine, inhaling, working with some side stretches from this position today. So arms are out at shoulder height, inhaling, exhaling, folding down to the right and coming down either onto a fist or perhaps onto a flat hand. Stretching away through the top arm, looking up, finding this stretch here through the left side of the body. making sure that we're not collapsing down into the shoulder. So pushing away through that lower hand, looking up to the top hand. Palm of the hand faces down towards the floor. And then from here, engaging the core. So being really sure that we are engaging through the core so that we can support the spine. Inhaling, keeping the engagement through the core as we lift the body up. Exhaling, folding down to the left. Top hand, right hand comes up towards the sky. And again, breathing, looking up into the top hand if you feel balanced here. Checking in with the hip, making sure we're not collapsing down through the left hip. So aiming to have the hip still forward, square to the front. Engaging the core. Inhaling, we'll work once more to each side. So exhaling, keeping that core engaged as we fold over to the right. Experimenting, so either coming onto a fist or coming down onto the flat hand, reaching away through the top hand. Again, bringing the awareness into the hips. So noticing whether perhaps this time you are collapsing through the right hip. That will make it much more difficult for us to then open the chest. So if you're collapsing through that lower hip, through the right hip, perhaps come up onto the fist instead of the hand, pushing the hip forward, and that will help us to then open through the chest and then make it a little easier to look up into the sky. Engaging the core, inhaling, lifting, exhaling, folding over, checking with the hips, pushing that left hip forward, looking up into the sky, continuing to really reach up, look up, feeling the stretch through the side of the body. Inhaling, lifting up, and exhaling, releasing the hands, bringing the leg back in, and then working with the opposite side. So right leg extends out to the side, pushing the foot firmly down into the floor, aiming not to be rolling in. So really feeling like we are lifting through the arch of the foot as the rest of the foot firmly plants down on the floor. Arms out to shoulder height, engaging through the core, checking in with this hip, making sure we're not already collapsing through the hip. Opening, lifting, lengthening, engaging the core, inhaling. And then as we fold, exhaling, coming down to the left, either onto the fist or onto a flat hand, looking up to that top hand. Again, really finding that length here in this position. Breathing. Finding the stretch through the side of the body. And then engaging through the core, making sure the core is active as we inhale, lifting the body up, exhaling, folding over to the right, lifting up and away through the top hand. Palm of the hand faces out towards the right. And again, finding the stretch through the side body. Engaging the core, inhaling, lifting. Exhaling, folding down, coming either onto the fist or onto a flat hand. Stretching away through the top arm, checking in with the hips. So again, adjusting if you need to come up onto the fist, or even grab something else, a blanket or something, to prop yourself up even higher, to bring the floor up even higher under the fist. And then pushing out and away through the lower hip, so through the left hip. Actively stretching that top arm away from the body. And then engaging the core, inhaling, lifting, exhaling, folding over, last side. Looking up to the top hand, lengthening, checking in with the hips, softening through the shoulders. So both shoulders draw away from the ears. Engaging the core, inhaling, exhaling, releasing the hands, bringing the knees back together and then coming down and finding our way into butterfly. So soles of the feet come together, drawing the heels of the feet in towards the pelvis, wrapping the hands, the arms around the ankles, bringing the elbows in towards the knees, rocking from one side to the other side. Massaging here through those glute muscles, the big muscles in the buttocks. And then working our way back up to center, seeing if we can bring the heels of the feet a little closer in towards the pelvis, interlacing the fingers, wrapping the fingers around the toes, and then feathering through the knees. Allowing the eyes to softly close. Continuing to feather through the knees to allow the knees to bounce up and down. Lengthening through the spine. Feeling the shoulder blades traveling down the back of the body. Feeling the back of the neck lengthen. And then bringing the knees to a still point, blinking the eyes open, and then coming into a comfortable cross-legged position, preparing to work with Yoga Mudra. So bringing the backs of the hands over the knees, forefinger comes into the pad of the thumb, and then remaining three fingers are outstretched and together. Lifting and lengthening through the spine. Crown of the head lifts up into the sky, back of the neck lengthens. And then let's inhale, sweeping the arms back in line with the hips, drawing them up to shoulder height, softening through the wrists and the elbows. Exhaling, folding the body forward, crossing the wrists over the lower back, bowing the forehead down towards the floor. Bowing this first time in respect for self. For the ways that you take care of yourself, nourish yourself. Supporting yourself to be the best version of yourself that you can be from moment to moment. Acknowledging that from moment to moment this changes, becomes easier and harder. This is just part of the natural ebb and flow of life, of our human experience. Bowing in respect for self. Inhaling, lifting the body up, bringing the arms out to shoulder height, softening through the wrists and the elbows. Exhaling, releasing the hands down in line with the hips, sweeping the hands forward, backs of the hands come to rest over the knees. Pausing with the eyes closed if they're not already closed. And then working a second time. So inhaling, sweeping the arms back in line with the hips, drawing them up to shoulder height, softening. Exhale, folding the body forward, crossing the wrists over the lower back, bowing the forehead down towards the floor. Bowing this second time in respect for others. Pausing to acknowledge the way that others give and support you, as well as the ways that you give and support to others. Noticing this transaction, this ebb and flow of giving and receiving. Bowing in respect for others. Inhaling, lifting the body up, bringing the arms out to shoulder height, softening through the wrists and the elbows. Exhaling, releasing the hands down in line with the hips, sweeping the hands forward, backs of the hands come to rest over the knees. pausing with the eyes closed. And then working a third and final time. So we inhale, sweeping the arms back, drawing them up to shoulder height, softening. Exhaling, folding the body forward, crossing the wrists over the lower back, bowing the forehead down towards the floor. Bowing this third and final time in respect for all that is. For the natural ebb and flow, the giving and receiving within yourself, between yourself and others. Noticing how this cycle continues on a larger level as we contribute to all that is, to the greater whole. Inhaling, lifting the body up, bringing the arms out to shoulder height, softening. Exhaling, releasing the hands down in line with the hips, sweeping the hands forward. Backs of the hands come to rest over the knees. And then softening through the elbows, releasing the fingers and taking the awareness into the breath. Gently blinking the eyes open. Let's extend the legs out long. Taking a moment to point and flex through the feet, maybe having a shake out through the legs. And then working with a straight leg spine twist today. So leaving your left leg extended, drawing the right foot up, and then bringing the right foot to the other side of the knee. Cupping the hands by the hips, keeping a gentle flexion through that left foot, lifting and lengthening through the spine, and then turning to look out to the left. Inhaling, bringing the left arm up to shoulder height. Exhaling, sweeping the arm, wrapping it around the knee, and then turning to look out to the right. Inhaling, bringing the right arm up to shoulder height. Exhaling, sweeping the arm back behind you, drawing it down to the floor in line with the spine. Inhaling, lifting and lengthening. Exhaling, twisting, turning to look out over the back shoulder. Breathing here, visualizing the twist through the spine. Visualizing that twist running from the base of the spine up into the crown of the head. Inhaling deeply. And then as we exhale, returning the head to center, bringing the hands back to starting position, allowing the eyes to close. Inhaling a nice deep breath from the base of the spine, drawing it up to the crown of the head. And then as we exhale, flooding the body with light. Visualizing all of those nerve pathways working as they should. Gently blinking the eyes open. Unwrapping the leg and then working with the opposite side. So this time bending through the left knee, bringing the left foot to the other side of the right knee, and then cupping through the hands. Now, while the fingers are cupped here, making sure that we're not curving through the spine, so opening through the chest, shoulder blades travel down the back of the body. Turning to look out to the right, we inhale, right arm comes up to shoulder height, exhale, sweeping the arm around the knee, turning to look out to the left. Inhaling, left arm comes up to shoulder height. Exhaling, sweeping the hand down to the floor. Inhaling, lifting and lengthening. Exhaling, twisting, looking out behind you. Aiming to look out over the back shoulder. Visualizing the twist. Imagining that we are wringing the spine out like a dishcloth. Continuing to breathe. And then inhaling. And then exhaling, returning the head to center, releasing the hands back to starting position, pausing with the eyes closed. Inhaling deeply. And then as we exhale, sending light out through all of the nerves of the body. Blinking the eyes open, unwrapping the leg. Let's lie the body all the way down to the floor, coming to lie on the back, hugging the knees into the chest, preparing to work with the wedge. So drawing the knees into the chest, running the hands down the front of the shins, and then planting the feet flat to the floor as close as we can, comfortably, to the buttocks. Aiming to have the feet in line with the thighs, the knees are pointing straight up into the sky, hands come down flat to the floor, activating through the back of the body. So feeling the shoulders drawing down into the floor, shoulder blades draw together, inhaling, pushing down into the feet, lifting through the pelvis, lifting through the spine, lifting the pelvis up as high as we can, and then lifting the heels of the feet off the floor, interlacing the fingers underneath the body, squeezing the shoulders together a little further. And then from here, bringing the hands to support the lower back or the buttocks. And if it's comfortable to do so, lowering the heels of the feet down to the floor. Taking the awareness into the belly, breathing deeply. Working to expand here through the solar plexus, through the bundle of nerves that radiate out from the belly button. So feeling as we breathe in that all of those nerve fibers are being stretched as we expand through the belly. And as we exhale, just softening the belly. To release out of the position, we lift the heels of the feet off the floor, hands come back down to the floor, heels come to the floor, and then slowly unwinding the spine and hugging the knees into the chest. Squeezing the knees in, either over the chest or towards the armpits, feeling that release through the lower back. And then taking the feet up into the sky, hands come down to the floor, keeping that control through the abdomen as we slowly lower the heels down to the floor. If you feel that that's compromising through the lower back, you can always bend through the knees. And then releasing. Once the feet find the floor, palms of the hands face up into the sky, taking a moment to just observe the breath and the body. Working our way up into a seated position, bringing the palms of the hands together or bringing the hands flat to the floor underneath the lower back. Lifting the head, looking to the toes, engaging the core, inhaling, pushing into the hands and lifting the body up. From here, working our way into creative power pose or Paschimottanasana. So pulling the padding out from underneath the sitting bones, lifting and lengthening through the spine. And then cupping the hands by the hips, circling the palms up, looking up, engaging the core, lifting, and then exhaling, folding the body forward, taking a comfortable grip of the legs anywhere between the knees and the toes, inhaling, lifting and lengthening through the spine, exhaling, folding forward, aiming to extend the heart out towards the toes, lengthening through the neck, feeling a gentle squeeze here through the groin. Breathing deeply. And then releasing the arms, extending the fingers out towards or beyond the toes, engaging the core, inhaling, lifting the body up. Exhaling, circling the arms down, drawing the knees up, interlacing the fingers and balancing with the feet off the floor. Pausing with the eyes closed. And then bringing the feet flat to the floor and coming up to standing, working with the bandhas. So feet are a little wider than hip width distance apart, bending through the knees, bringing the hands to rest over the thighs, exhaling. Inhaling deeply down into the belly, filling up through the lungs, holding once you have full lungs. Exhaling through the mouth. With no breath left in the body, we suck the stomach muscles back, up and under the rib cage, tucking the chin into the chest, engaging through the pelvic floor. And then when you need to breathe, inhaling, lifting up, and exhaling, folding forward. Allowing the belly to soften. And then working your way up, coming to work a second time. So bending through the knees, hands rest comfortably, gently on the thighs, exhaling. Inhaling down into the belly, filling through the sides of the lungs, the top of the chest, holding. Exhaling through the mouth, releasing all of the breath. Engaging through the core, sucking the stomach muscles back, up and underneath the rib cage, chin tucks into the chest, engaging through the pelvic floor. And then if you would like to, you can see if you can bring the ribs as though you are inhaling without letting any air into the body. When you need to breathe, inhaling, lifting up, exhaling, folding the body forward. Inhaling, working a third and final time. So making sure when we exhale, we've released all of the breath from the body. We have empty lungs, and that will help us suck all of those internal organs up into the chest cavity, or at least that's the visual that we're working with. So exhaling. Inhaling deeply, a nice full deep breath. Holding. Exhaling through the mouth. Stomach muscles suck back, up and under. Chin tucks into the chest with no air left in the body, seeing if we can expand through the rib cage. When you need to breathe, inhaling, lifting up, and exhaling, folding forward. Allowing the belly to soften. And then releasing yourself all the way down to the floor, coming to lie on the belly. Extending the arms out long, turning the head to one side. Let's lift up through the feet, seeing if we can reach around to take hold of the feet or the ankles. If you can't reach the feet or the ankles, then just interlacing the hands, leaving the legs extended. From either position, forehead comes down flat to the floor, drawing the shoulder blades together, squeezing the shoulder blades together. Inhaling, lifting up, looking forward, lifting through the chest, and then lifting the legs away from the floor and taking the feet up into the sky. If you're working with the variation with the hands clasped behind the lower back, aiming to lift the arms up and lifting the legs off the floor at the same time, leaving the legs extended. Inhaling, exhaling, releasing the forehead down to the floor, releasing the legs back down to the floor and turning the head to one side. Pausing with the eyes closed. And then setting ourselves up for Cobra. So palms of the hands come flat to the floor on the outside of the shoulders. Forearms come down to the floor. Elbows draw in towards the ribs. Forehead comes flat to the floor. And then if you are working with Sphinx with our variation, You can bring the hands one hand's length forward. As you lift up, we stay on the forearms. From either position, inhaling, looking forward, pushing into the hands, lifting through the chest. And then if you are coming into the full position, pushing into the hands, lifting the diaphragm and the belly off the floor. Looking forward, keeping the extension through the lower back. So pulling into the hands, really gripping the floor with the hands, aiming to pull the heart forward. Keeping a bend through the elbows, making that bend in the elbows as big or small as you need it to be, and pushing the heart forward. Inhaling deeply and exhaling, slowly lowering the body down, tucking the chin under, forehead comes flat to the floor. And then extending your right arm up overhead, pushing into the left hand and rolling yourself onto the back of the body. Hugging the knees into the chest, gently rocking from side to side, easing through the lower back. And then working your way back to center. Bringing the hands down to the floor, preparing to work with shoulder stand. So taking the feet up into the sky. If you are working with the variation, then staying here, bringing the hands behind the head, tucking the chin into the chest. If you're working with the full variation, the full shoulder stand, we push down into the hands, feet come back behind the head, interlacing the fingers behind the back of the body, squeezing the shoulder blades together so that we come a little higher up onto the shoulders. And then releasing the hands, hands come to support the lower back. And then from here, you can experiment with perhaps taking one leg and then the other up into the sky, or alternatively, bringing both feet up into the sky together. Pausing here, continuing to breathe. Feeling the shoulders and the triceps, the backs of the upper arms pressing down into the floor. And then keeping the core engaged as we slowly lower the feet down behind the head. Releasing the hands back down to the floor, keeping the core engaged as we slowly, with control, unwind the spine. Lowering the heels down to the floor. And then bending through the knees, bringing the feet flat to the floor, preparing to work with the fish. So interlacing the thumbs underneath the body, squeezing the shoulder blades together, and then lowering yourself back down, unlocking the thumbs so that we're sitting on flat hands. Extending the legs out long, pushing down into the elbows, making sure that as we lift up, we do not turn the head. So pushing into the elbows, lifting the sternum up into the sky, allowing the head to drape back behind you. Continuing to work to actively push the sternum, the front of the chest, up into the sky, making sure we're not collapsing down through the shoulders, making sure that we're not turning the head. And then when you're ready to release out of the position, we slowly lower back down, lengthening through the neck, and then pushing into the heels of the feet, releasing the hands out from underneath the body and turning the head from one side to the other side. Just releasing through the neck. And then coming back to center, pausing for a moment with the eyes closed. And then slowly, gently working our way up to a seated position. So either hands come to the heart or bringing the hands to the lower back, flat to the floor. Lifting the head, looking to the toes, engaging the core, pushing into the hands, and inhaling as we lift to sit up. Swinging yourself around. Preparing to work with the elephant. So coming onto all fours, tucking the toes under, and then lifting the tailbone up into the sky, looking to the feet, and then stepping the feet to mat width distance apart. Allowing the heels to come down towards the floor if that's comfortable, and then gently shaking the head yes and no, up and down, side to side, aiming to loosen all of the little muscles through the neck. So softening through the neck, softening through the head, creating space between the ears and the arms. So softening through the shoulders, feeling those shoulder blades continuing to draw back towards the buttocks. Pausing here. And then looking to the hands, lifting the heels off the floor, stepping the feet back together, bringing the knees down to the floor, untucking the toes, sinking the buttocks back to the heels, creating two fists with the hands, and resting your forehead on your fists. Pausing here, just giving the body the chance to bring the blood pressure back into balance. When we have the heart higher than the head, this naturally, temporarily lowers the blood pressure. So just giving the body the opportunity to find homeostasis, to bring itself back into balance. And then gently inhaling, lifting yourself up, and then rolling yourself down, coming to lie flat on the floor, finding a comfortable position for a couple of minutes of relaxation. So lying yourself all the way down, lengthening the legs out long, bringing the arms down to the floor if they're not already, and then turning the palms of the hands to face up towards the sky. Allowing the fingers to lightly curl, and allowing the feet to gently flop apart. Bringing the awareness into the breath, observing the natural ebb and flow of the breath. This cycle that repeats over and over again, giving and receiving. And then gently bringing some movement back into the fingers and the toes, connecting the awareness back in with the breath, with the body. Taking the arms up overhead, having a nice big stretch out. Rolling over onto one side, drawing the knees up towards the chest, just pausing on the side of the body for a moment. And then working your way up to a seated position. Moving slowly and gently, drawing the hands to the heart, allowing the eyes to close. Inhaling, and then exhaling as we bow the body gently forward. Sending some thoughts of kindness, of gratitude to yourself, and then extending those thoughts out to others. Inhaling, lifting the body up. And then exhaling, releasing the hands, blinking the eyes open. And namaste, which is the spirit in me respects the spirit in you.